Is it that time of year again? It definitely is. Next month it's May and we have to start preparing for MerMay. Hi guys and welcome back. In this video I would like to show you guys my process for preparing for MerMay. So the way that I choose my prompts and the way that I find references and other materials that I may need during the whole month of May, where the pressure is very high because you have to produce so many mermaids every day, and of course that is just on top of whatever other commitment you have in your life. May is always super busy, so this year instead I have tried to make life easier for myself. You know, there's no need to always go super hard. Take some time and be realistic on what we can achieve in 1 month, especially if you don't think you're gonna be able to draw every day. A few months ago I opened a Patreon, and so this year I have asked my patrons what kind of prompts they would like to see from me for this MerMay. We had a poll, my patrons voted, and I decided to do just 4 prompts for the month. So we're gonna have 1 prompt per week. Every patron can interpret in the way they want, and everybody can post their work in progress, and we can work on our prompts together during our draw-alongs, which is something that we always do monthly on my patron-only Discord. If you're interested in joining in for our sessions, you can sign up for my Patreon and support me. You will also become part of a lovely community of people who support each other and give each other feedback constantly, like every day. It's a lovely place to be, honestly. Let's get started on how I actually chose the prompts for this year's MerMay. I always try and root my projects into, real life folklore, or at least something that matters for the world that we live in, trying to find a way to put together art and fantasy, but also something that is important to me, like the environment or civil rights or, stuff like that. Let's start with what is a mermaid. The etymology, so where the name derives in English, is from mer, the sea, and maid, a lovely lass. So it's literally a woman of the sea. Some of the earliest mermaid stories were part of the ancient Greek mythology, and there were good ones like the goddess Atargatis, who protected humans, but also really bad ones like the sirens, who were luring Ulysses and all the other poor sailors to their deaths. Also there's mermaids in lots of different folklores, like the Japanese mermaid called a ninjo, which it's mostly a fish but has a human face, and it's the Ponyo one! I didn't know this. This is so cool. There's tons of different mermaids, and I feel like for my purposes, I want to take this knowledge and put it into my own kind of universe, which is called Arcanum Academy. For the past few years during Inktober, I have been shaping this fantastic universe that I have been writing about in my book, which I'm writing very slowly. Very, very slowly. I have, all sorts of magical girls and magical boys, and there's all sorts of magical creatures as well. The magic system works that to obtain power, you have to bond with either an object or a natural element so that you become a certain type of witch. I feel like mermaids would fit into this universe very well by being extremely ancient witches that have bonded themselves to a specific body of water, and therefore over time have become linked to it to the point where they have become half fish and they cannot leave that body of water any longer. Because they are so ancient, they have become sort of like a guardian of that specific element. So this long-winded explanation was to introduce you guys to the prompts of this year. The project is called Secret Waters. So Secret Waters because mermaids are pretty secretive and there's a level of mystery surrounding them, and also they are the protectors of this specific body of water, like rivers, lakes, oceans, glaciers, and the depths. Usually what I do when I try and work out a prompt is that I make a mood board, as you may know from the mood boards I made for Inktober last year in 2020. The way that I develop a mood board is usually that I go on Pinterest, which is, the best place where you can find stuff, I think, and just, type in river, like very simply, and just look at all the pictures, and from one picture to the next I usually just develop my own aesthetic for what I want to create. In this case, the river is not just a river, but it's like a river mermaid. I also usually type in things like, for example, mermaid hair, so that I get inspired by all the beautiful hair that appears. Like, oh my god, this one is so beautiful. For example, for the glacier one, I could type in something like Ice Queen, and then you will get loads of interesting actual photography and aesthetic. And then, of course, because I wanted to be obvious that the person, like the original witch, has bonded with a fish or, you know, like a body of water, and she's become sort of like part fish, then you can also look up specific fish that are part of that environment. Like, for example, for the ocean, you can find loads of beautiful fishes, like this one is one of the ones that I actually saved. Looking up all these different things, you will get to a point where you have mood boards that are a little bit varied but also kind of cohesive and give you a better idea of what you want to draw, especially in terms of palettes and shapes. So these are the mood boards that I created. I feel like this one for the depths is one of my favorite ones. This is an actual fish from, you know, the depths, and that's so beautiful. I feel like there's loads of inspiration to be found in the natural world, and you can mix that with elements of fashion and elements of actual photography and create something new and unique. And then I took my sketchbook and started making this kind of composition, because since it's just 5 prompts, I feel like I can easily fit them into one page and then make a big print out of it. In this case, I was kind of inspired by the Mermaid Windows from Harry Potter. I don't know if you remember those. I can't remember if it was just in the movie or also in the book, but at some point Harry has to find out about this egg and what kind of riddle it says, and so he goes into the bath, and the windows around in the bath chamber are showing mermaids that are sort of like moving from one window to the next. If I watched it now, maybe the CG would be really terrible, but at the time that was a pretty cool bit of CG, I feel like, for like 2005 or whenever the movie came out. So I wanted to create a big glass window in the style of Art Nouveau, because I'm obsessed with Art Nouveau, with the 5 different habitat, like natural environments, and then the 5 mermaids sort of floating from one bit of the window to the next in a composition and showing how they are protecting these environments and also showing their character a little bit. So the way that I positioned them is that it was very organic. I just started sketching like flowy lines so that they would create a composition that would flow from the bottom to the top and coming down again from the top to the bottom. So I started with the river mermaid because the shape of a river is kind of sneaking, kind of an S shape. So of course this mermaid is going to be super dynamic, and she's coming down, so like from the top to the bottom, because rivers, you know, usually flow downward. The mood board for it is having this really wavy reddish hair, and then the colors would be mostly blue and green. And of course you can't see the colors here, and you know the sketch is super messy because I'm a very messy sketcher, but the idea is her sort of coming down from the mountains to the ocean, and that's why the mermaid in the middle is actually the ocean. She's a little bit bigger than the others, and she's in this position like with her arms raised and taking up a lot of space, because oceans are of course the, you know, biggest body of water on earth. And also she's kind of flashy, you know, she will have a really big tail of pink like this fish here, and she will have also really flowy blue hair with the sea foam in her hair as well. She needs to have a very big contrast between blue and orange and just be, you know, super colorful. On top of that, I have the lake mermaid, who's probably the most static pose, because lakes are very still, usually kind of curvy, and you know she's got curly hair, a flower in her hair, because in lakes usually you have flowers and plants just growing into the lake. And then on top of it all, we have the ice queen. You know, you have the glacier mermaid, really stern and kind of commanding. She's reasonably pissed off, considering that because of climate change we are actually destroying all the glaciers, so she's the one that is kind of like the most annoyed. And at the bottom I have the depths mermaid, which hasn't been fleshed out yet because she's the bonus mermaid, so I'm gonna draw her at the end if I manage to do all 4 prompts before. I feel like I wanted to just do like a super quick video to show you the prompts, and instead this has gone on for quite a while, so I hope you enjoyed just this little bit of insight into my process when it comes to preparing for a big challenge like MerMay, and I hope that you will join in and either join the Patreon so that we can draw together, or you can just, join in and tag me on Instagram or Artful or, all these other art apps that are sprouting at this point. Just in general, start getting ready for MerMay, because it's gonna come before you know it, and then you're gonna be all panicky because you can't keep up. So hopefully this year we will, take it in stride and prepare beforehand so that we can relax during May and just enjoy all the beautiful pictures of mermaids that will appear on the internet. I guess that's all for now. I'll see you next time. Bye!